Bastards, hope you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Welcome back to the DeFranco show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing I want to talk about today is the crazy United Airlines scandal that just keeps giving and giving and giving. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about with this story, I highly recommend you watch the past two videos. I'll include the links in the description to go specifically to those parts in the video, because there's just been so much that has happened with this situation. The first new thing is that the passenger who ended up bloodied and battered on that United Airlines flight because he would not give up his seat, a newspaper started looking into his past, threw all this stuff out, and there was this theory that they actually got the wrong Dr. David Dow. Now, as far as where this theory started, I looked, and the first iteration I saw of it was just some guy on Twitter. He was like, this doesn't match up. There was another T Dow. They're bringing up the sordid past of a different man to try and smear him. But no, if you looked into it, it looks like the right David Dow was found. A Dow, 69, in Kentucky. T Dow is 30, lives in New Orleans, would not have been flying back home if he was on a plane to Kentucky. The man in the video is very obviously not 30 years old, and he also didn't lose his medical license in 2004, 2005, because he would have been 17, 18 years old. And while it's understandable why there could be confusion because they have the same last name, they both apparently are in medicine, this Dow also reportedly practices a different kind of medicine. David A. Dow's office in Kentucky also confirming it was him. And an office manager at a medical practice that Dow had recently worked at said, quote, he's a pleasant guy. He really had a passion to get back into the medical field. And Dow worked at that facility between August 2015, August 2016, because he was trying to get his medical license back. So as of right now, it does appear that the right man has been identified. Now, I will say, while I understand that there is an argument that by exposing this man's past, you get kind of a view of his character, everything we've heard regarding the testimony of the people on the plane saying that Dow was being cooperative, he was understandably frustrated, but he wasn't being ridiculous. The video showing that he was pulled out of his seat, he was manhandled. I think his past is a separate side story that doesn't affect this situation personally. So there was that part of the story. Also, some quick notes I think need to be clarified before getting to the second part. One, while there was outrage in China because people believe that this man was Chinese, it turns out that he's actually Vietnamese. Two, while I and many others have been talking about the problems of overbooking, it turns out that this flight was not actually overbooked. It appears that it was a perfectly fully sold flight, and no one was denied boarding. Despite United's repetition of that phrase, the passenger bought the ticket, exchange ticket, was on the plane. This was just that after everything had been done perfectly, United wanted to put 4 of their employees on the plane. Those 4 employees did not have booked tickets. And the other update to this story is that the CEO of United Airlines, Oscar Munoz, otherwise known as the Reaccommodator, he is now singing a whole different tune and apologizing. And something I want to briefly point out. There are headlines reading, United CEO Oscar Munoz issues another apology. It needs to be noted that the first apology really wasn't an apology. He apologized that United had to reaccommodate passengers. And he issued that statement even after there was video evidence showing that man's face getting slammed against that armrest. That wasn't an apology. Then we got the leaked email he sent to the employees of United where he essentially said, I have your back. This man was being ridiculous. We were forced into this position. We followed procedure. He was belligerent. He was horrible. We're gonna look into it, but we have your backs. But then today, for some reason, maybe because they've lost hundreds of millions of dollars of value, Oscar Munoz apologized saying this.
It's not so much what I thought, it's what I felt. Probably the word ashamed comes to mind. You know, as I think about our business and our people, the first thing I think is important to say is to apologize to Dr. Dow, his family, the passengers on that flight, our customers, our employees. That is not who our family at United is. And you saw us at a bad moment.
He also released a statement on United's official Twitter saying, the truly horrific event that occurred on this flight has elicited many responses from all of us. Outrage, anger, disappointment. I share all of those sentiments, and one above all, my deepest apologies for what happened. Like you, I continue to be disturbed by what happened on this flight, and I deeply apologize to the customer forcibly removed and to all customers aboard. No one should ever be mistreated this way. Then explaining they're going to review their procedures and they'll speak more on this on April 30th. And while I kind of agree with part of his statement that it's never too late to do the right thing, for me in this instance, as a consumer, as a potential customer, it is. It feels like a BS apology because they don't want to lose any more money. I mean, if you look at his statements and how it timed along with United's stock price, I think you can see that. The video's released, it starts going viral, more and more people are offended, and then they say, we apologize, we had to reaccommodate. Then in something sent to employees that most likely wasn't supposed to be public, he says, I commend our employees. And United stock plummets. And all of a sudden it goes from this ridiculous belligerent man who couldn't follow instructions to this was a horrific event. An event that resulted in shame. I was horrified by this and instantly thought, this can never happen again, despite that in the past 24-hour window, I said those things that I didn't know were going to be public, that speak to the exact opposite of the opinion I'm throwing out there now. And the words coming out of my mouth may seem disingenuous. Maybe it's also because Munoz has been labeled the 2017 US Communicator of the Year, which is a bullshit artist spin doctor. It looks like he's trying to finally live up to that award, but all it does is make me feel like I can't believe anything out of his mouth, especially with the timing. And two things I want to ask you in regards to this story. Is this too little too late? Does it feel genuine or disingenuous? And also, in the future, will this stop you from flying United? Or no, when I'm flying, it's not about morals or my opinion, it's just getting from point A to point B in the most inexpensive manner. I'd love to know. Then today we got the news that a news network was actually being held for some of the garbage that they were spewing. The reason I say news network is we're talking about the Daily Mail. And as far as them being held accountable, they are reportedly paying $2.9 million to Melania Trump. They had issued a public retraction to their story and have now issued a public apology to Melania Trump. In their words, in their apology, they said, "We published an article about Melania Trump which questioned the nature of her work as a professional model and republished allegations she provided services beyond simply modeling." Now, while that statement is technically accurate, it really downplays what they did. The article was titled "Racy Photos and Troubling Questions About His Wife's Past That Could Derail Trump." And they published claims that she worked for a modeling agency that really acted more of as a gentleman's club, as an escort agency for wealthy clients. Also claiming that Mr. and Mrs. Trump may have met 3 years before they actually met and staged their actual meeting as a ruse. Trump fell in love with a prostitute, he wanted her, so they faked them meeting again so it could be all on the up and up. And the Daily Mail now says, "We accept that these allegations about Mrs. Trump are not true and we retract and withdraw them. We apologize to Mrs. Trump for any distress that our publication caused her. To settle Mrs. Trump 2 lawsuits against us, we have agreed to pay her damages and costs." And so depending on how you look at the situation, this is a win or a loss. Some people are saying this is actually a win for the Daily Mail because initially Melania Trump was suing for $150 million. Although I personally believe the real intent there was never to get that much money. That figure was just very, very large to scare the hell out of the Daily Mail and make them settle. And there are others saying this is kind of a scary road. Some pointing out that in the article in question, they said that there is actually no evidence to support these claims. The Daily Mail's defense in their retraction they issued it late last year, they said the point of the article was that these allegations could impact the US presidential election even if they are untrue, adding that the article provided adamant denials from Mrs. Trump's spokesperson. But I personally feel you can dismiss Daily Mail's defense because they also ran this article under a different headline, which read, "Naked photo shoots and troubling questions about visas that won't go away. The very racy past of Donald Trump's Slovenian wife." To me, that doesn't really sound like the beginning of an article where you're saying that there are baseless, no evidence claims that can be easily dismissed and it's fake news, but it might affect the election. Sounds like you were trying to pass it off as something else. And so I just wanted to share this article because it does seem like more and more people are going to be held accountable. There have always been libel and slander lawsuits, but I really do feel like we're going to see more and more and more. I feel like the Hulk Hogan Gawker situation, which obviously is different, I think that may have opened the floodgates, and I don't think we've even really seen the impact that it's going to have on the industry. But from there, I want to share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by the Don't Be Stupid shirt. A shirt that says, "I think we both know you're not playing with a full deck of cards, but could you not? Could you just not?" You guys brought the shirt back this week, and there is 1 day left to order if you want to snag one. And the first bit of awesome is happy birthday, James. For those that don't know, James is the fantastic editor of the DeFranco Show. He is also single-handedly the reason I've been able to take my regular 8-minute shows and turn them into these 14 to sometimes 18. I really hope it's not more than 18, I'm sorry. But main point, happy birthday to him, even though he's like, "Stop talking, there's too much footage." If you're a hardcore fan, go to his Twitter, wish him some happy birthday love. Then we got a new trailer for Atomic Blonde, and I didn't know I needed this in my life, but I need this in my life. Then I gotta share the How It Should Have Ended Logan. And I include this for one of 2 reasons. 1, so you can either enjoy the video, or 2, you can enjoy the arguments in the comments. Oh my god, there's a little something for everyone. If you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. Then briefly to share one of the most shared stories today, the headline read, "Woman gives birth to 13-pound baby." And let's just be honest, the real headline there is, ow! The reason I say that is, 1, that's a big ass baby, and 2, the main things you need to know about this baby is that it was delivered naturally and the mother had no epidural. And so ultimately my main takeaways from this story is 1, vaginas are magic, and 2, if we ever needed more evidence that pussy should no longer be used as a term of weakness, this is it. Years ago, I had a kidney stone, I needed several days of drugs to get through that. Meanwhile, this lady's popping out a human being into this world through her vagina that weighs more than a bowling ball I would use. And then let's talk about big swatting news. For those that don't know, swatting is when someone calls the police and they say something like, "Someone just got shot and killed at this place, someone else might get killed. I want to report this crime," but the crime has actually not taken place. It's a false report that results in the police responding to what they think is a very, very horrifying scene. They raid the home or apartment looking for a murder suspect, and it's just people at home not doing anything. It's happened to a lot of celebrities over the past few years, and also just people streaming games on Twitch. And the news today is that some of the assholes involved in swatting may actually be held responsible. And we're in this position because a man by the name of Tyrion Dobbs was swatted. Police raided his home, shot him twice with rubber bullets, once in the face, right between the eyes, breaking bones in his face, another in the chest. He had bruised lungs. It's just horrible. This kid was just minding his own business at home. But after realizing the error of their ways, the police investigated this and found the 2 people that seem to be responsible. One of the suspects has been identified as an American by the name of Zachary Lee. Investigators saying Lee worked with a man in Britain by the name of Robert McDade to swat Dobbs, calling a terrorism hotline, claiming to be armed with a gun and several bags of explosives, and saying that he would kill 3 hostages unless $15,000 was delivered in a red bag to his address. And then of course, police showed up, they shot him twice. Really, the only good news at this point is it seems that the 2 people behind this might actually be held accountable. The pair's charges reportedly include conspiracy to produce false information and hoax, and if found guilty, they reportedly face up to a 20-year prison sentence. And I've got to say, for myself personally, I know there's a big debate over, you know, the punishment fitting the crime. I think the punishments for this need to be harsh. When people swat other people, they are putting that person and their family at risk. You already have someone who got shot in this instance. It's only a matter of time till we see more and more people not only get shot, but killed. And that's why I believe the punishments need to be very harsh here, to really send home the message that this will not stand. That you may think that this is a game, but this is a game of life and death, and we're gonna show you that by taking away some of your life. Not just a prank, bro. This is the real world, and the real world has consequences. And then we have to talk about Sean Spicer. I hated that this happened as I was uploading yesterday's video, but also yesterday's video was already 16 minutes. It would have been too long. But I need to speak on this story, also though to expose some fake news around it. So the situation starts with the White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer given the impossible task of convincing Americans that Bashar al-Assad is a bad guy. Impossible. I'm joking. Most Americans do believe that Bashar al-Assad is a bad guy. Most people also believe that he was the one behind the Syrian chemical attack last week. But to really hammer home the point, Spicer decided to compare Assad to Hitler in a very odd way.
We didn't use chemical weapons in World War II. You know, you had someone as despicable as Hitler who didn't even sink to using chemical weapons. So you have to, if you're Russia, ask yourself, is this a country that you and a regime that you want to align yourself with?
And so that statement quickly gained traction. People going, did he what? No, Hitler gassed millions of people. Why are you minimizing Hitler? And in that same press conference, he was asked to clarify his remarks.
Thanks. I just want to give you the opportunity to clarify something you said that seems to be gaining some traction right now. Quote, Hitler didn't even sink to the level of using chemical weapons. What did you mean by that?
I think when you come to sarin gas, he was not using the gas on his own people the same way that Assad is doing. I mean, there was clearly, I understand your point. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. There was not he brought him into the Holocaust Center. I understand that. But I'm saying in the way that Assad used them, where he went into towns, dropped them down to innocent into the middle of towns. It was brought to, so the use of it, I appreciate the clarification there. That was not the intent.
And a lot of people responded to this by, did he just say Holocaust Center in relation to concentration and death camps? Also, it still sounds like you're trying to minimize what happened in the Holocaust to make Assad look worse. But there were also people defending him, saying that what he was trying to say is that even Hitler didn't use them in bombs. Yes, he did kill people with chemicals in a weaponized form after they were rounded up, and so they killed them in an orderly manner, whereas Assad just dropped those chemicals from a bomb. And so my takeaway from it was there was no need for a comparison or a competition to be had between who is worse. Hopefully we can all agree that the delivery method of killing people in a certain way, that feels like it's just a needless debate that takes away from the real conversation. And just in general, watching this, it was like watching a man that was on fire going like, oh, I know, first thing that comes to mind. Actually, the first thing that would come to your mind if you were on fire is, pain, fire! And the second thing that comes to that person's mind is, I gotta stop this fire. And he sees a bucket of water and he pours it on himself, only to realize it's not water, it's gasoline, fire ants, and a few needles. I'm not saying they're filled with AIDS, but they were needles from a clinic, so you should be concerned. And I feel like the deal with Spicer is he needs to realize there are certain points he does not need to expand on. I feel like Sean Spicer is probably a nice guy, a well-meaning guy, but I don't know if he is suited for this position. I personally wouldn't want him to be my mouthpiece or defender. Like, I can just imagine it, like I get accused of having sex with a big booty Instagram model. He goes out there and he's like, the accusation here is unfounded, it is ridiculous, this is a witch hunt. All the evidence shows that DeFranco is not guilty here. Also, even though I have an easy layup as far as my argument here, I want to expand on it. Look at the butt on that Instagram model. Philip DeFranco does not have a very large member. If the penis can't hit, you must acquit. If the booty too thick, it could be a trick. If she a thought, it makes you think, what? No, Sean, stop. And then this is a big part of why I mentioned this story. People start sharing a defense from Sean Spicer around this. It reads, the media has mischaracterized my recent statements on the Assad regime. It was not my intention to imply that Hitler had never used chemical weapons, but that he never used them on fellow Germans. At the point where Assad is attacking his own people with chemical weapons, you have to wonder if he's willing to do the same on United States citizens. To which people started screenshotting and sharing, and they're like, what are you talking about? He gassed and killed gay Germans, Jewish Germans, disabled Germans. This is basic knowledge. But that defense was not a real defense. That was a fake post from a now deleted Facebook page that was not operated by anyone in the White House. It was purely fake news. Sean Spicer did not issue that statement. A lot of people on the left and the right think that the other side is the one that really only focuses on fake news. No. It's everywhere, and that's why we have to be vigilant to not just share and promote things that are fake, because it serves whatever point we're trying to make. And what Sean Spicer actually did was he apologized.
Well, thanks for having me, Wolf. I was obviously trying to make a point about the heinous acts that Assad had made against his own people last week, using chemical weapons and gas. And frankly, I mistakenly used an inappropriate and insensitive reference to the Holocaust, for which, frankly, there is no comparison. And for that, I apologize. It was a mistake to do that. And you know, I appreciate Director Panetta's comments, and we'll keep those in mind.
And so my ultimate takeaway from this, to the people calling Sean Spicer a Holocaust denier, no, I do not agree with that. I think that he made an ignorant statement. A statement so needlessly dumb that the same guy that said this,
"I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay,"
said this.
What the hell is that from Sean Spicer?
And that's it. I don't think Spicer is an evil man. I just think that maybe he's not the best guy for this job. And I say that acknowledging how hard that job must be. But I do want to pass the question off to you. What is your takeaway from this? I'd love to know. Or do you think people are blowing this out of proportion? It was a simple mistake, or no, something needs to be done about this? And then in international news, let's talk about Chechnya. You may have seen headlines floating around about this. Some saying Chechnya accused of detaining and torturing dozens of gay men. Others saying Chechnya has opened gay concentration camps. Now, even though it is semantics, I'm gonna take the lesson I feel like we learned from Spicer, and for the rest of the story, I'm gonna do what Amnesty International is doing, and that is calling it a secret detention site. Okay, so that said, earlier this month, a Russian newspaper claimed that in Chechnya, the men accused of being gay had been illegally detained, beaten, tortured with electric shocks, and held for ransom in secret prisons. And there were also allegations that some of the detainees had already been killed. And so I wanted to look into this a little further. There's allegations, and then there's what is actually happening right now. Well, it becomes a little more fleshed out when we hear from a spokesperson from Amnesty International. They noted that not all the people at this detention site are gay, saying these premises consist of several buildings. Among those who are allegedly detained are not only men perceived to be gay, but also suspected sympathizers of the armed group calling itself Islamic State and suspected drug users. Amnesty International isn't able to independently verify the allegations made here. Although there have been reports of a second secret detention site identified in Chechnya, these reports are now backed by an increasing number of testimonies by men who have left Chechnya. Then we had the watchdog group Human Rights Watch. They said they received information corroborating the detentions and inhumane treatment, and have demanded the Russian authorities resolutely condemn attacks against LGBT people in Chechnya and ensure safety and justice for the victims. The US State Department has also responded, stating there were numerous credible reports that the Republic of Chechnya had detained at least 100 LGBT people, some of whom have allegedly been tortured and killed, adding, "We are increasingly concerned about the situation in the Republic of Chechnya. We urge Russian federal authorities to speak out against such practices, take steps to ensure the release of anyone wrongfully detained, conduct an independent and credible investigation into these reports, and hold any perpetrators responsible." So as far as Chechnya, what do they say? Well, the head of the local interior ministry said that this must be a bad April Fool's joke. A spokesperson for Chechnya's leader flat out denied the report, calling the article absolute lies and disinformation, but then reportedly adding, "You cannot arrest or repress people who just don't exist in the Republic. If such people existed in Chechnya, law enforcement would not have to worry about them, as their own relatives would have sent them to where they could never return." And it's really those words and the disillusionment that gay men just don't exist. Not here, not in mighty Chechnya. It's that mindset that for me personally makes me go, oh, they 100% could be doing this. As we get more governments and watchdog groups saying, we're getting credible information, it leans to this is happening. But I also end up wondering, well, what's gonna happen from here? The reason Russia is being brought into the conversation is Chechnya is a republic of Russia. But if we look at Russia, there's really not a lot that's gay friendly there. Google Russian gay propaganda law. I don't really think there's an LGBT ally in Russia. I'm not trying to make a blanket statement about the Russian people, but I'm talking about the Russian government. I don't know if there's any world where they decide to help, but I would be very happy to be proven wrong. And so I think in this current international climate, it's one of those we have to wait and see what's going to happen. Just a scary, scary situation. But that said, if we do get an update to this, I will keep you up to date, but that is also where we're gonna end today's show. And remember, of course, this is the Philip DeFranco Show. It's not just a show, it is a conversation, whether it be this last story, the first one, anything in between. I wanna know what you're thinking. So let me know in those comments down below. And remember, if you liked this video, you like what I try and do on this channel, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you missed and wanna catch up on yesterday's Philip DeFranco Show, you can click or tap right there to watch that. If you wanna see today's brand new vlog, you can click or tap to watch that. But that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.